Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cedric Lewis, here for Live Celebration by Franklin. I am so excited to invite everyone and welcome everyone. Let me say that to our October session. I'm not going to hold you long. I'm just going to go ahead and get it started and hand it on over to Dr. Tonya Cunningham. We have a good topic today. We were talking a little bit earlier about it. This is a good one. This is a really good one, especially going into this, as we're in this fourth quarter and getting ready for the holidays and things like that. This one's going to be good. So, Dr. Cunningham, how are you?
I am well. How are you, Cedric?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for this one. So, I'm not going to talk
Awesome.
anymore. I'm going to hand it on over
Okay.
to you so you can do your thing.
Okay. Y'all give it up. We have such a wonderful producer. Thank you, Cedric, for all you do. Greetings to everybody. So excited to see you guys on. I'm looking at my phone here. I see some of you have already greeted on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining. I own it. Matthias, I hope I didn't mispronounce that. If I did, please forgive me. Wanda, good to see you guys. So glad that you are on. Sherry on. Excited to have you on. As you always hear us say, sharing is caring. So if you don't mind, would you share the broadcast? Those of you that are able to do so. And also tag someone, let them know that we are on live. So, greetings, welcome to our monthly grief symposium that is hosted by a life celebration. For those of you who do not know who that is or what organization that is, it's actually a funeral home. It's actually a funeral home located in the Austin, Texas area, and they have been hosting grief support for over a decade now. And we do some sessions in person. As a matter of fact, next month we will be in person. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. The fourth Sunday we'll be there in person, 3:30. They'll tell more about that a little bit later. If this is your first time, hey Jimmy, good to see you. If this is your first time being with us, would you put a one in the comment section? A one in the comment section, and our production team will certainly greet you. We welcome you. We welcome all of you who have been here before, those of you who are on Facebook, and those of you who are on YouTube. So excited that you are here. Um, I want to check in with you guys. You know, that's the first thing I always ask. I always want to know how you guys are doing. So you can go ahead and start putting that in the comment section. Those of you who are on YouTube, Cedric will let me know. He'll put it in the chat for me. But on Facebook, I can see your comments. Go ahead and let me know how you guys are doing. If you can give me one word, give me one word. Tell me how you are doing. One word to describe how you are doing, how you are feeling on this grief journey. And so my one word would be excited. I am excited. I'm excited for many, many reasons. Excited because I'm about to turn 60. Hey, hey, hey. We're going to celebrate next month. That's why I want y'all to be in person, not just because it's my birthday, but because it's my birthday. I want to celebrate it with you. So I'm excited again just to be alive and to be in this space on my grief journey. Where I have healed in some areas, and I'm really excited about it when it comes to grief. So go ahead, put in the chat. Sherry Ann said, doing well. So glad you're doing well. Absolutely. And if you're on here, you're not doing well, it is okay to put that too. We honor it all. We honor it all. Jimmy says, ecstatic. Come on. I'm loving the energy in the chat today. I am. So I always want you to check in to tell me how you're doing. And also, can you comment what is something, one thing that you have done to take care of yourself since I saw you last month? Give me one thing, put it in the comment section, one thing that you have done to take care of yourself since I saw you. Because you always hear me say, those of you who follow, that if you don't take care of yourself, who will? Okay. So the one thing I always want to mention that I've done is, let's say, I'm going to mention two because I always want to lead by example. One thing that I've done is that I've been consistent with my therapy sessions. So, and actually, I have my therapy session tomorrow, and I'm really excited about it because I miss it. I got some things that I need to talk over with him, and some things he needs to help me navigate through. So, I'm in my therapy, and I am resting. That's the other thing I'm doing to take care of myself. And what does resting look like for me? Here lately it has been rescheduling appointments, rescheduling client appointments, um, saying no when I'm too tired to go to an event. Hey, I did some self care this morning on a Sunday because I've been traveling this weekend. That's why my voice, you can hear it. It's a little bit tired because I spoke in Tennessee this weekend and it was a powerful experience. Left on early Friday morning and came back on last night due to the storm here in the DFW area. So didn't make it in till about midnight. So my body was tired and I knew I had to speak to you guys today. So what did I do? I am a pastor at my local church within, our local body. But I called my pastor, the senior pastor, and I text him and I let him know that I'm not going to be able to make it. Why? Because I'm tired. But the old Tonya would have pushed through, went to church, feared that I was going to hell because I wasn't at church. So that's what I've done to take care of myself. So I see you guys putting it in the chat in Facebook. Matthias says, grateful. That is amazing. Grateful. That is a wonderful thing to do, to be. Wanda says you're journaling. That is very, very good. Continue to do that. Hey, Marie, glad to have you on here as a frequent flyer. Y'all see Marie? She put that in the chat, the FF. I usually do that on my personal lives. If this is your first time, we want you to put a one. But if you've been here before, I ask you to put an FF in the chat. That means you are a frequent flyer with me. So thank you, Marie, for putting that in there. Thank you. Let's see. Favorite self care word. Yes, no. No is your favorite self care word. It is mine too. It is mine too, Wanda. And then Tassie says she slept in. That's good. That is very, very good. So awesome. You guys are doing what we call taking care of yourself. Now, before we get into our meat and potatoes today, I want you to put in the chat, would you just put a thank you to Barry and Marie Franklin? We want to appreciate our host for providing this support to their families, but not only their families, they open it up to anybody in the Austin area to come and get grief support when we are in person. But certainly they open up to anybody because, again, we're on social media. So would you just say thank you? Thank you guys for providing that service. We appreciate them. We appreciate them. So, our topic today is living with loss, thriving beyond grief. Thriving. If you have followed me any length of time, you have probably heard me say this word thriving because that's how I describe myself now. I'm thriving on the other side of grief. Okay, I'm thriving because grief never ends. I've taught you that. What is grief? For those of you who may be here for the first time, grief is what happens on the inside of you. Just to recap for those of you who have been here, it's an internal emotional response to absolutely any kind of loss. So we know that grief is not just about death, it's about any type of loss. It could be a good thing, meaning, or transition. You could go and get a new job, you can get a promotion, but you're still going to grieve where you were. Okay, so we're going to teach you about thriving beyond grief, thriving beyond grief, meaning the pain of grief. Now, if your loss is within, I would say, the last year or less, maybe even a year and a half, this may be a little bit raw for you, meaning too much information for you to apply at this moment, but that is absolutely okay. So what you want to do is just to get the information and you want to hold on to it until you get to that point in your journey when you can apply it to your life. Okay. So as far as the handout, the things that I'm talking about today, you can find it. You can look on the link and click it and you can download the handout for yourself. You can download it for yourself. Some of you may have already done that today. Hey, Ioma, I see you. Love you too, sweetness. Love you too. Okay. So we're talking about living with loss because grief never ends. So you have to learn to live with the loss and move beyond the pain of grief. So I want to start with a quote that says that grief doesn't end. We just taught you that, right? It transforms. It becomes part of the story God is writing through your life. And the author is unknown. That is so powerful. That is so powerful. Actually, it speaks of my life today. It becomes a part of your story. So anytime you hear me speak, you're going to hear about the divorce that I had years ago. I'm not suffering from the pain of that anymore, but it's a teaching tool. It is a teaching tool for me that I use to help people through their grief. Okay, so grief, we know that it changes the way that we see ourselves, it changes our world. What does grief do? I want you to put this in the chat. It reshapes our identity. Grief reshapes our identity because we lose our identity when we go through loss, especially a death loss, and even a non-death loss. When I say a non-death loss, let me give an example of identity that may be impacted. When you lose your job, when you lose your job or you lose your position on a job, you may be a VP, a vice president, and then something happens to where you're not the vice president anymore, and so you lose your identity as being the vice president, and you go through grief. Okay, so it reshapes our identity. Yes, it does. It reshapes our priorities and sometimes even our faith. It really does. It reshapes our faith, and sometimes it can be for the better. I'm a living witness to that as well. My faith is deeper than it was before I went through the divorce. My faith is deeper because I allowed grief to reshape me as I submitted to the pain of grief and worked through all of that. Okay. So it says, while loss may alter our story, it doesn't have to end it. So most people think when they go through grief that your life is over. Your loved one died, your life is over. You lost your job, your life is over. You went through a divorce, your life is over. You have an illness, your life is over. It is not over, it is just different. It is just different. And grief has certainly altered that. So, our focus today is helping you integrate um, this loss into your story. Integrate. That is the word we want you to focus on. What does that mean? It says when you integrate loss into your story, it's one of the most powerful steps toward emotional and spiritual healing. So when we talk about integration, what that means is you're bringing two things together. You're bringing it together versus attempting to ignore your grief or try to sweep it under the rug and pretend that it's not there. Let's integrate it into our life because it is there. You've heard me say in times before that if you don't deal with your grief, guess what? It's going to deal with you. So I encourage you to pay your dues now. Pay them now because you don't want to be older. I have clients, I have senior clients, and I love them dearly. My eldest client now is 84, and they started when they were 80 years old. Can you imagine? 80 years old when they started. Okay. So you don't want to be in your 80s. You can, if you're there already, to do your work. But since we're younger, we want to start now and deal with our grief and start integrating it into our life. So I see in the chat, I missed it earlier. So Evelyn is on YouTube. She said it's her first time here, and she is struggling. So Evelyn, we are so glad that you're here. We're sorry that you're struggling, but we're glad that you're here to get this information. So depending upon when your loss was will determine if you're able to utilize this information. Because if it's too soon, meaning your loss just happened within the last year or less, this may be too raw for you right now, but that is absolutely okay. I believe that you can glean something today to kind of help you with your struggle. And if you need additional help, reach out to us, message us, let us know, and we can connect you with the proper resources in your area. So thank you for your transparency, your vulnerability, for sharing that this is your first time and that you are struggling. Okay, so awesome. Let's see something else. Juanita on YouTube said, that hopeful, that is your word. Now, that is a huge word. When I was asking earlier, give me one word check in. And so Juanita says hopeful. So for a person in grief to say that they're hopeful, that shows healing. That shows progress. And we're going to talk about that too in just a moment. So thank you guys for sharing. I didn't want to leave you out. So forgive me for missing that. So we're talking about integration and what does it do? It involves creating ongoing ways to honor your loved one, if it was a death loss or whatever it is that you lost. Again, how do you do that? You do that through memories. You do it through rituals, and that happens for the most part when it's a death loss. Okay, you continue to honor them by memories, by rituals, things that you do. Um, Integration in grief, it begins the day the person dies, when it's a death loss. It begins the day you experience the loss. Okay? So, what does that mean? It includes day to day activities, meaning when you lose someone, sometimes you not only lose them, but you lose the role that you had with them. Okay, so if you were a caregiver for the person who passed, or the person who is not here anymore, or you were a spouse, like for me, I just use the divorce as a non-death loss example to share with people, to help them understand that grief is not just about death only. Again, so I had to mourn my identity as a pastor's wife. Believe it or not, I did. I had fallen into that trap, didn't realize that I was insecure, and I did not know who I was. And the sad part is that I did not know that I did not know who I was. I didn't. I didn't know who Tonya was. And so when he decided to exit the marriage, I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen to me? What's going on? I had lost my identity. And then I lost my role as a wife. I lost my role as a pastor's wife. I lost my role, again, helping people in the church. So, yeah, so I had to learn how to integrate this loss into my life, and realize that I can live after that loss. I can live after that loss. So, listen to what this quote says. Thanks, Marie, for tagging. It says, grief may change your rhythm, but it doesn't have to silence your song. Grief may change your rhythm, and it does, but it does not have to silence your song, meaning it doesn't mean that your life is over. It absolutely does not mean that your life is over. So let's go to the next page for those of you who have that handout already. So, what are some practical ways that we can integrate? What are some practical ways? Number one, you can reflect on lessons you've learned, okay, or values that deepened through your loss. So, can you think about it? Those of you who have been on your grief journey, definitely at least for a year or more, what are some things, and if you don't mind sharing, put them in the chat. If you don't mind sharing, what are some things that you have learned in grief? One lesson that I have learned in grief is that I don't sweat small things anymore. You know, that's a book out there, I believe. Don't sweat the small stuff. I used to be a high alert person. And I remember going to therapy years ago where I really didn't believe in it, but I did because it was through EAP, through my job at the time. And I was just going to be going, just immature. But I remember the therapist saying to me at that time, you are a high alert person, meaning everything was always code red for you. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, tell me what's the next thing you're going to do when, because I would go to therapy during my lunch. And he said, what's the first thing you got to do when you go back to work? And I said, I got to do this, this, this. I read off about 4 or 5 things. He said, let me ask you again. What is the first thing that you have to do when you go back to lunch? I mean, when you go back to work after lunch? And I said, I told you I have to do such, such, and such, and such. He said, everything is a high alert for you. Okay. So now I don't sweat the small stuff. I don't. Listen, listen. I put on lashes for y'all today. Normally I don't. Sometimes when I'm seeing clients, one on one. But I put lashes on, but I don't sweat it anymore. That's because I had time to put them on. But if I didn't have time to put them on, guess what? Y'all were gonna see a lashless person. I have some lashes, but they're not long and pretty like this. I see you, Marie. Marie said letting go. That's a good answer. Letting go. Okay. Hey, Dr. Roz. So you learn letting go. So you're integrating. That means you're integrating your grief well into your loss. Another way you can integrate, it says identify ways to honor your loved one or the experience. Okay. So if it's death loss, one of the things I've always said, the best way to honor your loved one who died is to live well. Live well. What do I mean by living well? Meaning taking care of yourself in a way that you did not do while they were alive. Yeah, take care of yourself. That's living well. I don't mean materialistically. I don't mean buying things. Taking care of you. Like me, I'm living well now. because I set boundaries. I say no when I need to say no. That's living well. That's how you honor your loved one. Okay. Now, if it's a non-death loss, you can honor your life by living well in service to others or doing things that you want to do. Have you ever had something on your to-do list? You say, one day I'm going to go traveling. One day I'm going to go back to school. One day I'm going to write the book. So when you go through grief, especially also a non-death loss, when does the one day arrive? Right? When does it arrive? It should be today. It should be today. Okay, so another way that you can integrate loss into your life is reframe the narrative. Reframe. Can y'all put that in the chat? Reframe. Reframe. Reframe the narrative. All right? Reframe it. Instead of saying, I lost everything, or I lost my daddy, or I lost my job, or I lost my health, I lost my eyesight. Say, I'm learning to live differently now. Consider saying, I'm learning to live differently. Life is different now. They're no longer here. Brain, when I was going through the divorce, one of the things I used to say that was a negative thing, and it wasn't true in the sense of how I was perceiving it at the time, but it was the grief that was causing me to feel the way. I would say, um, he left me. Technically, he did. He didn't want to be a part of the marriage anymore, so he did. The way that I would say it and communicate, I say, he left me. I said, see, if he wouldn't have left me, then I wouldn't have been in this position. Okay. So all of that is speaking abandonment. So I had to deal with my abandonment issues, my rejection issues. So instead of saying he left me or I lost my marriage, I just say, he just decided, he decided we're not married anymore. He didn't want to be married anymore. So I just had to reframe it. Okay. So we want you to reframe. Come on. Jimmy says reframe everything. That is so good. You got to reframe the narrative. Okay. So I see you guys in the chat. Y'all lighting it up on Facebook. Over here, you says, don't take life too serious. Just enjoy it each day. Absolutely. That's right. Do that. Absolutely. It's okay to live. Absolutely. Great, great, great. So what do I want you to do? I want you to celebrate resilience and growth. Can you put that in the chat? Celebrate resilience and growth. A lot of times in grief, you feel like you're not thriving because you still have a little bit of pain. You still have a little bit of pain, number one. And then number two, you don't celebrate your growth or your progress. Everything that we do, the fact that you got up today, okay, we're going to celebrate that win because we make it look easy. We make it look easy what we do. You know why? Because a lot of people in grief, we put on a mask. Just like I put on my glasses, we put on the mask. And so we put what we want people to see, which is our representative. But behind closed doors, I'm so glad, just like Evelyn on YouTube was very, very honest. She said, I'm struggling today. How many of us are very, very honest in our grief journey when people ask us, how you doing? Some of us respond a lot with the default answer, what? I'm good. And if you super saved, what do you say? Oh, I'm blessed of the Lord. Highly favored. No, even have I I just went on down the rabbit hole, didn't I? Yeah. But I want you to be able to celebrate resilience and growth, okay? So listen to this. Resilience is not about the absence of pain. It is not. It's not, but the strength to rise again. I was helping a client I'm working with. They just went through a major life transition, and the people around them. See, people can be in your ear. People can be in your ear and say, "Ooh, if that was me, I wouldn't do that. Ooh, I don't see how you do that." You have to be aware of those people who are speaking to you during your grief journey. So I just reminded them again. I say, "Hey, you're resilient. The fact that you get up every day since your loved one died, and the loved one didn't just die, they were murdered, their life was taken." I say, you're resilient. You're growing every day. Okay, so we have to be able to acknowledge that. Okay, says as we move through grief, we start celebrating resilience and growth, even in the smallest ways. Even in the smallest ways, we want to be able to do that. So it's not about being strong all the time. That's what most people think being resilient is. It is not about being strong all of the time. It's when you show up for life, even when it hurts. Can anybody relate to that? It's when you keep showing up for life. You showed up to this live. Some of you may not have even felt like showing up. You showed up, even when it still hurts. That's called resilience and that's called growth. Okay? So it's about standing again, even after you've been knocked down. Because in grief, you can get knocked down a lot. You know, sometimes you can pull it together. You can start out really, really good in the day hours, and then as the day goes along, man, the grief starts just going downhill. Like, man, I can't seem to pull it together. It's okay. Tomorrow is a new day. I encourage a lot of people to have what I call a pajama day. Y'all know what a pajama day is? Stay at home. But when you're in grief, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, people want to bring you out of your pajamas, don't they? They want you to come outside. They want you to go with us to the store or come over to our house. Because the truth is they don't like seeing you sad. But sometimes you need the pajama days. Sometimes you need that. So it says resilience, sometimes it looks like a whisper instead of a shout. It looks like a whisper. That means you're resilient, okay? So that means you have some quiet strength going on. So we want to celebrate all wins. Can you put that in the chat? Celebrate all wins. Because what's a win for you may not be a win for me, and vice versa. So we want to celebrate them all, whatever they are. The fact that you got up out of the bed, we celebrate that. The fact that you were able to take care of your personal hygiene, we celebrate that because when you're depressed, going through grief, depression, of course, is a stage of grief. You don't feel like combing your hair. You don't feel like brushing your teeth. You don't feel like picking out clothes. I remember one client, and I love sharing her example. Her son was young and he was murdered as well. And one of the things that she did, she said, I couldn't even think of what to put on as far as clothes. So what she did, she went to Amazon and bought seven outfits, just simple wear, leggings and a top, same style, seven different colors. And she said, I didn't have to think about what to put on. She said she wore that for a while, for the first month. Every week, she said, I just washed it, washed and repeat, washed and repeat. I said, that is such a good idea. That is such a great idea because when you're in grief, especially in the beginning of it, you don't have the bandwidth to think about anything. You don't have the bandwidth to make decisions. And what do people ask you constantly? What do you need? I don't know. I don't know what I need. What can I do for you? I don't know what you can do for me. Okay? So that is what we want to do. We want to celebrate all of the wins. Celebrate all of them. Thank you so much for putting that in the chat. Okay? So all of them are daily victories. Again, getting out of the bed. Here's another major event that a thing or win is going to social events. How many of you still struggle, or you did back in the day when you first started in your on your journey? You struggled going places socially. Yeah. Be like, I have one person that I was working with. They shared they used to be a social butterfly, and they still are, but they've noticed that they don't like massive crowds anymore. Since they went through a major loss, they don't like massive crowds. So that grief changed them. Remember, grief changes who we are. We're not the same. So it caused that person to say, I don't like being in crowds. I remember going to my first social event after going through divorce because I was hiding. I was hiding. Remember, I was a pastor's wife and got invited by another, prominent pastor wife. And she has this huge conference every year. She said, won't you come? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be too many ladies there. I don't know. I don't want to ask any questions. I don't answer any questions. I don't know. She said, just come. And y'all, when I drove up on the parking lot, I had just gotten out of the mental health hospital. I had just gotten out of the hospital and I went and I started hyperventilating driving on the parking lot. I was like, oh my God, there's too many women in here. And when I went into the ballroom, it was a room full of women at this women's conference, huge women's conference. And I stood at the door and I was about to pass out. I'm like, oh my God, this is too much. And I was about to walk out and leave. And the host saw me. She saw me and she came and she got me. And she said, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you pushed through. I'm glad you came. I'm like, I was about to leave, ma'am. She said, won't you come and sit up on stage with me? I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Cannot do that. That is too much. So social events can be tough for people. Okay. Social events can be tough for people. So, what are some signs that you're growing? What are some signs that you are growing? Number one is you have increased self awareness. Increased self awareness. Increased self awareness. Another one is you have redefined sense of priorities. Can you guys still see me? It looked like it got darker. Can you guys still see me? Okay. So I want to make sure you can still see me. So yeah, you have a redefined sense of priorities. So another quote I want to share with you is that you will never be the same, but you can still become someone strong, someone beautiful, and someone whole. I love that. I love that. The author of that quote is unknown. So you'll never be the same when you go through grief, but you can become someone strong, someone beautiful, and someone whole. So, who is that? Juanita. Juanita on YouTube, she talked about being hopeful. She talked about being hopeful. So, finding hope, finding purpose, and joy in your future. I want y'all to put in the chat, you got to find it. You got to find it. Okay? So, a lot of times people will say, I have no hope when they're in grief. I'm plugging up my laptop right now because I think the battery is going low. Sorry about that. So, a lot of people will say, my loved one died. There is no hope. I have no reason to live. And that is absolutely not true. There is hope, but the key word, what do you got to do? You got to find it. Just like you got to create your new normal. It doesn't just happen. You must find it. So it says, when you begin to find hope, when you begin to find purpose and joy in the future, you'll realize that life after loss isn't just about what most people think it is, replacing what was lost. You can never replace, especially if it's a person who passed. You can never replace them. You can never replace who was lost. All right? So it's not about replacing who was lost. It's about rediscovering yourself. Put that in the chat. You got to find it, and it's about rediscovering yourself. You heard me say at the top that I lost my identity after going through divorce. I was like, man, I didn't know that I didn't know who I was. And so I've been on this journey of rediscovering myself, and I like Tonya. I actually love her. I love my big glasses. Yes, I do. I love them. I had one guy, a friend of mine, he said, boy, I bet you can see from here to China. I said, I can, and I can, and I'm cute. But the old Tanya would have probably cried and said, oh my God, he doesn't like my glasses. And I would have changed. I've done that so many times. I've changed clothes when people didn't like my clothes. So you got to rediscover who you are. So I'm so glad I've rediscovered who I am and what I like, what I want to do. And grief helped me do that. So hope doesn't mean you're pretending the pain is gone. Somebody put that in the chat because that, especially for people of faith, we think just because we have hope, that means we're pretending that the pain is gone. We're not. Hope doesn't mean pretending the pain is gone. Hey, Sabrina, it doesn't mean that. Hope doesn't mean that. Okay? It doesn't mean that. It means believing that healing and happiness is still possible. Healing and happiness, it is still possible. Thank you for putting that, Evelyn. Yes, you're rediscovering yourself. So that means you have to find out what you like, what you don't like. Y'all remember the movie? coming to America. So was he from Zamunda? Eddie Murphy, right? He came all the way to America because he didn't want an arranged marriage. He didn't want a bride that did everything that he said, whatever he liked. You remember he asked, "What do you like?" And she said, "Whatever you like." So he didn't want that. That was me. I didn't know what I liked, and many of us don't. But when you allow yourself to heal and go through the grief process, again, you can find out who you are, what you like, what you don't like. So, purpose often emerges from pain. Somebody put that in the comment section. Purpose often emerges from pain. You got to go through the pain for the purpose to emerge. So when I'm working with people, especially people of faith and minority people in black and brown communities, soon as the person dies, if it's a death loss, or again, any of the loss, but when a person dies, a lot of times they'll ask, what's the purpose of this? The purpose will unfold later, but we cannot know that in the very, very beginning. Okay? The purpose will emerge. It will unfold. You don't have to look for it. It will find you as you do the grief work. Okay? It will find you. What I'm doing today, traveling all over the world, teaching about grief. Y'all, you've heard me say I've been in this industry for 35 years. Nobody was calling me to travel like I'm traveling now. Every blue moon, somebody would call. Can you come here? But I wasn't doing this massive traveling until after I went through the healing from the divorce. Okay, so the purpose unfolded. It unfolded. Actually, a life celebration is an integral part of that because he had me come there. He had been talking about, Barry had been asking for years. We talked about it for years. He wanted to start a grief support space for his people, but it never got off the ground. And he mentioned 2012. He said, "Hey, I think it's time. I need you to come down and do the empty chair." That's how the empty chair got started there in Austin, Texas. I need you to come down. We're going to do 2 sessions. Those of you, that's how we started. We started with 2 sections back to back on a Sunday. And it went so well, he called the next day. That was on a Sunday. He called the next day, Monday, when I got back, and he said, "Well, I think it's time to start. The people enjoyed you and they really want you to come back." I'm thinking to myself, because I'm on the line talking to him like this, and I'm saying that because at the time I was, recovering from the divorce in the very, very beginning stages. So my car had Maypop tires. Some of y'all probably have Goodyear tires. My tires were Maypop. And anybody know what kind of brand of tire that is? That means they may pop anytime. They were warned they could pop any given time. So my car couldn't make it to Austin every month. I knew it couldn't. So, but I said yes when he asked, "I think it's time for you to come every month." I said, "Okay." And I'm praying, "Lord, how am I going to get to this funeral home every month with the car that I have?" And he flew me there every month. So the purpose started unfolding then. I didn't have to look for it. It found me. So your purpose will unfold as you find the hope through healing. Is this helping anybody? Are you getting anything out of what I'm saying today? If so, say yes. If not, don't say anything. I love y'all. Let me move on. Okay. Did you know that joy and sorrow can coexist? Somebody needs to put that in the chat. I think that's going to help some people today. Joy and sorrow can coexist within you at the same time. Yes, they do. And it is okay to feel joy at times. It's okay to laugh when you're on the grief journey. Many people feel guilty. Like, man, how can I laugh when my loved one is not here? How can I, oh my God, I'm doing a disservice to them and their memory. No, they can coexist. Those emotions can certainly coexist. One doesn't cancel out the other. Yes, okay, yes, y'all getting so okay. Thank y'all. Y'all so kind. Hi, Tonya Young. Y'all so kind. Okay, yes, Lord Matthias. Good, good, good. So joy and sorrow can coexist. One doesn't cancel out the other. So what does faith do? Faith reminds us that beauty can rise from the ashes. For those of us who are a people of faith in God, beauty can rise from your ashes, but you got to allow yourself to experience the ashes first. Okay? It's like an exchange. God's going to give us beauty for the ashes, but we got to give him, the ashes so we can get the beauty. What do I mean by that? That means you got to allow yourself to feel, because you cannot heal until you allow yourself to feel. Oh, that's so good. You cannot heal until you allow yourself to feel. You cannot heal until you allow yourself to feel. So, what do we want you to do upon where you are in the journey? If a person just died, if it's a death loss, it may be too soon. It may be too soon, and that is okay. But hope will come. Hope will come as you navigate through the process. So, grief definitely births a new sense of purpose. And you discover, many people discover many, many things when you go through grief and you heal in a healthy way. Businesses start, ministries start, people write books, careers, callings. Many, many people I work with, again, they feel called to the grief ministry. I say, absolutely, you do. Absolutely. Because you guys can help people in grief in a way that others cannot. Okay, doesn't mean you don't have to go to school. Schooling is great. I'm thankful for my education. But what really got me into this space is my own personal experience with grief, and how I dealt with it, how I submitted to the process, and God did the rest. Okay, so that's why I tell people, heal first so you can write the book, heal so you can tell other people about your story. All right, so how do you find joy? How do you cultivate that? One thing you can do, I think somebody already mentioned it on Facebook. You can practice gratitude. Somebody said they were grateful. I think it was Matthias. I think you said you were grateful. Practice gratitude when you can, even in the small moments. So yes, you're still hurting and pain of grief, but I'm thankful I'm up another day to work through this. Okay. So one activity to help us find hope. I want you to write one sentence, and you don't have to do it now, but if you want to, you can. But I want you to write this down. Write one sentence, meaning a hope statement. A hope statement. You may not be there now, but this is what you're hoping to experience in your grief journey. I am believing that my future will include what? Blank. Can y'all put that in the chat so the people who come back and watch the replay can know what we're talking about? I am believing that my future will include, and then just fill in the blank. Some of you can go ahead and fill in the blank if you don't mind sharing. I'll share. I am believing that my future will include a husband. I'm telling the truth though. Yes, I desire to be married again. I'm okay. I'm okay if I don't, but I do. So I'm believing that. Jimmy, what are you believing? Your future will include what? Your future will include what? Okay, so we've got some healing to do through creative outlets. Healing to do through creative outlets. Okay. So when we say creative, because many people, I used to be that person, say, I'm not creative, I'm not an artist, I can't draw, those kinds of things. I'm not talking, being a creative artist, meaning just allowing your creativity, your mind to think and explore on things. Like now I'm sitting out at my one of my classmates, my good friend classmates home, and it's out in the country area. And I'm like, man, my creativity can flow just sitting on her porch right now, just looking out her window. Okay. So Your healing can come through that when you're in grief. I see you guys responding. I see you, Jimmy. Okay. Matthias says, I am believing that my future will include peace and happiness. Yes, that is good. Peace and happiness. Sharian says, I want to be like Job and be better than my first half. Come on, be better. One of the scriptures that speaks life to me now is your latter will be greater, and it will. Only if you do the work to heal. You remember faith without works is dead. Marie says, I am believing for future by letting go and moving forward, my heart will be made whole. Yes. Great. You guys are awesome. Y'all are rock stars. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Okay. I'm looking on YouTube. Megan. Hey, Megan. Megan says, I believe my future will include marriage and business. Yes, very, very good. So these are hope statements, and I challenge you to write these out, journal these every day, and say them. Okay? So we're talking about healing through creativity. So 4 pathways as we kind of wrap up here um, to express your healing. One of you mentioned it already at the top. I believe it's journaling. 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 Can you put that? Number one, journaling. Put that in the comment section. Journaling is so cathartic. It is so healing, therapeutic. Journaling, not digitally on your phone, but writing, because there's a connection between our brain and our body. And that's where the healing takes place. And this is why many people don't journal, because they say, I get emotional. It causes me to feel pain and I don't want to feel it. And if it does, just take a break and then go back. You want to journal because things like that. You can write letters to your future self. I was at the conference yesterday, and that was an assignment that one of the speakers gave. Write a letter to myself, my future self. So you want to do that, or you can journal and say, today I miss whatever it is that you miss. Uh-huh. Or what this loss taught me is blank, and write it out. Okay. So it helps us process our feelings, because we can't always articulate them aloud, especially if it's something that we don't want other people to know that we're thinking or feeling. That journal can handle it. Absolutely. Wanda says journaling, everything between you and the Lord. Absolutely. Absolutely. So journaling. Okay. And journaling can also help you keep track of your healing progress. It can, because you can go back. There can be so many answered prayers. You're like, man, I didn't even know I journaled that years ago. Yeah. So journaling is very, so that's one way to heal and thrive on the other side of grief. Two is art. Art. Can you put that one? Art. Now, those of you who are artistic, in the sense that you have the gift of drawing, painting, whatever it is, crafting, y'all can visually express feelings that are too deep for language. I spoke at a conference, I think Saturday before last, and a young man came up, and he's an artist and he paints, and he showed me some of his pictures. And oh my God, the pain. His dad died, and he said he just poured it out. He poured out his grief and his pain on the canvas, and you could see it, you could feel it, you can feel the pain. But it was very, very releasing for him. So if you're able to do that, definitely paint, draw, crafting. It translates. It allows you the opportunity to translate your emotions into color. Into color. Now, for those of us who are not artistic like that, that's why they have adult coloring books. Get the coloring books and just color. Just color. Okay. Just color. So you have journaling, you have art, then you have music. Any of you like music? Music, listening, singing, all of that. It soothes the soul. Music can get to where words cannot. Music can get to where words cannot. It is deeply healing. As a social worker, I can remember working in a nursing home many, many years, and patients who had Alzheimer's could not remember their name, could not remember your name, but somebody would get on the piano and play Amazing Grace, and they would sing all 4 or 5 stanzas because music gets in a place in our soul, in our spirit, where words can't. So music is healing. Okay. If you play an instrument, play your instrument. If you sing, sing. If you can't sing like me, again, just sing. Just sing. It's healing. And then the fourth way is going to be movement. So we have journaling, number one. Then the second one is going to be art. The third one is going to be music. And then the next one is going to be movement. I love color too, Sharon. I really can you tell? Wait a minute. Can you tell I love color? Look at all this. I love color. Prior to my grief journey, I didn't wear all this color. So movement, moving your body, gentle exercise, dancing. That's why I love to dance. One of the reasons why I love to dance, because I use it as exercise too. But I just love to dance. I love line dancing. Okay. Walking, all of those things. All of these are creative expressions. Creative expressions. All right. So last page, and then Cedric or Barry, we're going to be coming back to you. Is just take a moment. I want you to choose one of those activities. I want you to choose one of those activities to do this week. Excuse me. One of those activities for you to do. All right. And then last thing I want to mention, storytelling. Can you put that in the chat? I've been talking a lot this weekend. Storytelling. Storytelling. Storytelling is a wonderful tool for healing. I want you to heal enough to tell your story. Many people are out there talking, but you can tell they're not healed enough to tell the story. Okay? Storytelling helps you organize your pain and process your pain. Storytelling turns your trauma into a testimony. Yeah. So I want you to heal enough so that you can start telling people about what you went through, the grief you experienced, whatever it is that you lost. So remember that living with loss is not about returning to who you were, because that person has certainly changed. It's about becoming the new person that learns how to thrive on the other side of grief. Okay, so I want you to learn how to thrive and tell your story. This weekend, I was with a lady who told her story. I told my story too. When I go speaking at all of these engagements, y'all, all I'm doing is telling my story, and then I'm giving them tools to help them with their story. All right? So, living with loss, thriving beyond grief. You can thrive beyond the pain of grief if you apply all these tools. All right? So, that is it for today. Again, thank you all for participating. Those of you on YouTube, those of you on Facebook, we appreciate you all. Thanks so much for commenting in the chat. That helps us to engage and see where you are, and also to see if the information is helpful. So thank you so much. We're closing. We will see you guys next month in person. Next month in person. We'll be streaming live too for those of you who can't come. But we'll see you then. Bye.
I'm gonna start all of that over because I was on mute. So that's all right. That's all right. starting over once again. Dr. Cunningham, thank you so much. I want to say thank you to you for everything that you just gave us right there, and to everybody for tuning in with us. Want to say thank you to everyone for joining us. What we're going to do this week is that we're going to check in with everybody with this week on our Facebook page, and also going to check in on a YouTube page to see what activity that you ended up checking in with, and what's going to be what you decided to do. So we're going to be checking in with you this week, and then we will see you next month. And on behalf of Barry and Marie Franklin and the entire team at A Life Celebration by Franklin, we appreciate you for joining us, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.